Alright, so let's make ourselves a pie chart, because that's something that we often have to do, particularly in market research. Now, I'm getting this strange icon come up. It's not the icon I want. If I click on it, it might give me an idea why. I believe I might be on the wrong layer. Layers is something we don't really have to go into at this point. We may do a little bit later, but for the basics I'm going to skip that lesson. Just know that you can't write on a layer that's not visible. I'll just turn that one off by clicking on the eye there. So I need to select the layer with all these things on it that's visible. Okay. Enough about layers for now though. Let's draw ourselves a pie. There we are. I don't think I want a line around it, stroke around it this time, so I'll go up to the stroke and I'm just going to select none. There we go. Now, before I start drawing anything else, I've got to remember I'm still on the ellipse tool here, and I want to get rid of that. So let's go back to the selection tool, make sure I'm on that, and then come back over to my pie. Now, I want to make this a pie chart. I want to slice it up into different percentages. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to go back to the pen tool, select that, and come back down. Now, because of my smart guides, when I roam around in my pie chart, I will find the center. There it is. You can't see it because it's in pink. Let's change the color of my circle so you'll see that. Something like, yeah, I think something, blue's probably good. Let's make it a pastel blue. I think we'll see that. Actually, maybe even just a pastel red. No, that's almost the same as what we've got now, isn't it? Let's try that. Let's see what happens if I do it like that. Okay. Back to my pen tool. Where are you? There we go. Now I can definitely see the center of my circle, of my pie. So I'm going to go to it. There we go. And it says center right there in pink. Now, let's start divvying up my pie. So first of all, on that center, I'm going to click my pen to create an anchor point. And now I'm going to move up. I'm going to hold the shift key. So I can start there and I'll create another anchor point there. Now there's the first cut of my pie. What are the percentages I want to use? I'm not sure. I'm just going to go around and do some at random, I think. Now, let's see. I come across there, and then I go back in, go back to my center anchor point. There we go. There's one. Now, if I'm going to draw another, I'm going to need to start outside of the circle, outside of the pie, select and go back in until I find the center. There it is, it says interact. It's going to interact with that line I've already created. So I'll click, perfect, and then I need to go back up the line that edges this. There we go. Good. Now you'll see, if I were to complete this this cut that I've just made, I'm going to cut into my pie. I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to create another anchor point out to the side, and then I'm going to finish it. There we go. There's two. Let's make two more, shall we? Let's do a thin one. Thin wedge, come inside, find that center. There it is. Come back out. That's good. Now let's try one. What about here? Where's that center? Interact, good. And then come down that path, good. Make sure I don't touch the sides. Now I've got one more piece to fill in here, so I'm going to start up here into that interact, good. Out through that one. Okay, and I've linked that all together. Now, we can't see anything. We can't see our pie chart at all, but we will be able to. What we're going to do is go back to our selection tool, like so, and then we're going to click and drag all the way around it till we get all our pieces. Well, look, there's our pie chart. There are the guidelines of our pie chart. We just need to make sure that we can get rid of all this kind of extra crust, as it were. And we can do that by looking at some of the tools on this side. And the one we want is this one here, which is called Pathfinder. If you don't have Pathfinder here, go up to Window, select Window, and in the drop down you will find Pathfinder down here. Here it is. I'm just going to select it from over here, Pathfinder. There we go. Now, with all these items selected, I'm going to click on this divide icon here. If I click on that, not a lot happens, but actually what has happened now is it has divided all my cutouts and bits into different shapes. Now I can trim away the bits I don't want. How am I going to do that? I'm going to do it by going back to my fact sheet and showing you this tool, the direct selection tool, which will select little bits of my shape. Here we go, it's right here. We'll click on that and just click away from my shape entirely. Now if I just roll my cursor along things, you'll see that everything has its own edge. So I'm going to select that one and just hit the delete key. There we go. Same here, delete, 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 delete. There we go. There's a few lines there, a few strangly lines. You can just go around, just highlight those, get rid of those too. I think that's everything. It looks like it anyway. Now what I can do is change the colours of my pie chart so I can actually see it. So let's just hit the direct selection on that and go up to my colour change. I'm just going to do some random colours. I'll make that one pink. That's my dog barking, never mind that. Let's choose another colour here. Let's go with orange. Perfect. Let's select another. We'll make that yellow. Select this one and go with dark blue. And this last one, I know we have a colour already, but just something else quickly. Let's go with a brighter green. There we go. Now we have a pie chart right in the middle there. Okay, how do we make that into a donut? That's a good question. This is how we do it. There's a few little tricks you can learn. Let's go back to my selection tool for a second. Let's just make sure the whole object is now selected, and as we do that I'm going to make sure, oh good, they are grouped. That's excellent. So I can move this around. That's one thing the Pathfinder did for us, it grouped them as well. Now what I can do, actually I'm looking at this shape and I'm going to zoom in. You can zoom in using this zoom tool, which is over here, which will be a plus sign, and if you hit Alt it'll be a minus sign. So just zoom in. I feel like, aha, look at that, there's a little want-away line there. Well, that's okay, I can change that. I can go back to the direct selection tool, make sure I've clicked on that, and what I really need to do is just make sure these lines are all together. So if I click on that point there, that little box, I can drag that up. There we go. Make sure it's the blue one, there it is. Click on that, there we go. They're all in place, good. Can zoom out again now. I can use the zoom tool, or what I can do is hit Command and the minus key, or Control and the minus key, depending on if you're using a Mac or a laptop. I'm going to do that this time. I'm holding Command and tapping the minus key, which will pull me back out of my pie chart. Now, what was I going to do next? I'm going to duplicate this object, so make sure it's all selected, which it is. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. There we are. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my selection tool cursor into the middle of the pie chart again. And I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and you'll see that my cursor changed. Did you see that? I'll do it again. There it is. And that means that when I drag away, I'm holding down the Alt key at the minute, when I click on my mouse pad and drag away, I'm going to create an exact copy of my shape, which is very useful if you need to repeat shapes. Now, how do I turn this into a donut? Well, it's not particularly difficult. I hope you'll agree with me. If you go over to your ellipse tool again, select it. I've got it selected, that's good. Let's just zoom in a little bit there. This time I'm going to go to the middle of my second pie chart, get right to that center, and then if I hold down Shift and Alt at the same time, you'll see, actually if I bring it into the white space of the artboard, you'll see that Shift and Alt together changes my crosshairs and gives it that rounded approach. What that means is it's just going to create the shape from its center, which will make it much easier for me to be able to make the circle that I want to make. So if I hold that and then I click and drag, there we go, you'll see the outline of a new circle. I think I'm going to make it about that thick. Now that's blue, and it's a little bit missing on this side because it's the same colour, so I'm just going to change this to black. There we go. Now, how do I make this a donut? I've changed the colour, I've put this in front of it. Now I could cheat actually and just make this inside bit the same colour as the background. I can make it white. Let's just do that. There we are. However, when I select everything here and move it back over, say here, it's not see-through, so it didn't really work. So Let's change that back to black, shall we? Alright, what we can do though is we can select everything here, and once again using the Pathfinder, go back to divide, click on it again, and that's a little change there. What we've now got is that these black bits have also been divided, and what we can do is use the direct selection tool to select these bits, get rid of them, and when we do, leaving those lines inside, there we are. We now have a real donut, which we'll see by dragging across. There we are, see through, and that's how you create a donut. Just going to zoom out a little bit, and also another tool we can use that's in the fact sheet is, where is it? This one, the hand tool, which allows us to move our artboard around the place. Now, if you have a mouse pad that's sensitive, I know the Macs do, not sure if all laptops do, and you use two fingers, you can drag your canvas around that way. You can also use the icon here, the hand tool. If I hold the hand tool down and move around, I can move my artboard. A shortcut for the hand tool, which is great to use, is holding down the space bar. There we go, I hold it down and that happens, and I can move it around too. Excellent, so I've moved that into the centre of my screen again. Right, those are all the basic shapes we need to create done.